And when the second plane hit the tower, she said, he's definitely going to get fired. I'm going to have to resign because I want to pursue this for my daughter. And that's what I did.
You got two choices in life: make moves or make excuses. Hey, what's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of Called to Serve podcast. I am your host, Reggie Hubbard. If you haven't had a chance, please comment, subscribe, like, follow, share, all of that jazz. It really helps the mission that we have of serving those who serve others. Today, I have a very special guest with me. She is a triple threat. She is a mother. She is an advocate for plant-based medicine and former law enforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, hailing all the way from DeKalb County, Ms. Corey Lowe.
Yay.
How you doing?
Good. A lot better now.
Welcome. Thanks for coming out and supporting the mission, Corey. It's such an honor to have met you and for you to be here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you have a very, very interesting background. But before we get into that, let's talk about where you're from, how you grew up, the influences that you had that kind of led to who you are today.
Yes, sir. And again, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it greatly.
Of course.
Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
It's Memorial Day.
It is.
Thank you. So I'm from Lithonia, Georgia. Born and raised in Atlanta, Crawford Long.
Oh, snap.
You had your sergeant on the other day who's representing Grady Baby.
For sure.
Crawford Long.
Okay.
We represent our hospitals here.
100%.
That's just how it is. And I was made sure I had third generation. So I had my children all at Crawford Long because my mother was born there. So we have to represent that we're from Atlanta, born and raised.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Not everybody can say that. I feel like most of the people that I meet nowadays are not from Atlanta.
Right. And the hospital was on Peachtree Street. So and I walked to the varsity after birth. And so I'm saying, how much more Atlanta can you get than us and Mr. Grady Baby from the other day?
Straight facts. So talk with us about what it was like growing up.
Growing up in Lithonia.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was thinking about on the way over here, the DeKalb County Police Academy was around the corner.
Yep. Bruce Street.
Yeah. Honey Hole.
Yep.
They would, the recruits would come running by and singing cadence in Lithonia, and it would be the DeKalb County recruits. And my mom would sit on the front porch with her coffee and Marlboro Reds, waiting, hooting and hollering. And I'm in the house hiding because that's not normal. But she would be the one out there excited for them to come by 5:30 in the morning running. And that was part of growing up in Lithonia. And I just pretty much wanted to stay in the community. So I bought the house I grew up in.
That's very cool. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So it was important to stay in the community and work in the community that I grew up in because it was important to give back, and eventually got married and had children. And that's what pretty much led me into advocacy. It was on 9/11/01, September 11th, 2001. Mm-hmm. I was on Peachtree Street and delivering my first child as the towers were coming down, and
oh, wow,
wondering if this is the world that I want to bring a newborn into. But in hearing about Al-Qaeda and
yeah, wow, I can only imagine what was going through your mind at that time. Like, you're literally probably in a hospital bed about to give birth, and there's a terrorist attack in our nation, on our side of the country, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you recall, what was your first thought?
Well, the midwife, she came over and she kept saying that it was air traffic control. And when the second plane hit the tower, she said, he's definitely going to get fired. And I thought, lady, I don't know a lot. I really don't know a lot, but I know the air traffic control did not guide those planes into those towers, and that's what I do know. And she stayed in the room all day because her office had been evacuated. And the building next door, it's the tallest building in the southern hemisphere. That building had been evacuated. And a lot of the nurses were in the hallways, like wailing and crying because they couldn't get a hold of people in New York City. And they kept coming on the loudspeaker asking people to donate blood. And then the nurses that were working with me, they wanted me to name her after that day. They wanted me to name her September or Faith or Hope or something that, resonated with her birth date. I wasn't too keen on that.
Yeah. Like, definitely not a good day to, or a good event to
name your child after.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to remember that in that way.
Right. Not every day. And so gave birth to Victoria Elizabeth. So she's victorious and 7 pounds, 15 ounces. Yeah, Victoria Elizabeth. And we were at Stonecrest Mall. It was the day after Christmas, 12/26/2001, and she had a full-blown seizure.
Oh, wow.
And we called DeKalb. EMS came out, and they pretty much said we could take her to Eggleston, but you would probably have to pay like $600 for the ambulance ride, or you could take her for free. And so we pretty much took her to the ER, and they did all sorts of tests and said nothing's wrong with her. And it was finally January 2nd, 2002, where she had an EEG, and the neurologist came back and said, your daughter's brain activity is grossly abnormal. So I was kind of like, what do you mean? And he said, infantile spasms. I said, what do you mean? He said, seizures in infants. And so I said, okay, what do you do? And he said, you could do vigabatrin, which is illegal in the United States. You can get it from Canada because it'll cause her to lose her peripheral vision. But it might stop her seizures, might not. But got to get it from Canada. Or you can do Topamax. He said it'll dummy her up. She'll be lethargic, but it might stop her seizures. Or you could do ACTH, which is a steroid, and you give her a shot in the thigh. He said you have to watch her heart, make sure her heart doesn't explode, but it might stop her seizures.
Run that back. So I gotta give my kid a shot in her thigh. It might stop her seizures, but it might explode her heart.
Correct.
That seems like an impossible choice.
I said, what would you do? And he said, I can't tell you that. And so, needless to say, I've tried everything. Tried the steroids, got the drug from Canada, and did a different cocktail of drugs, and done everything that they tried and suggested, and even got a seizure alert dog. The city of Clarkson with the mayor raised money and helped us go to Ohio and get a seizure alert dog that would alert when she's having a seizure. We even got an implant in her chest to swipe a magnet over it to stop the seizure when she's having a seizure. It's a vagal nerve stimulator. And we had that procedure done. So my whole point back was I've done the meds, and we've done the dog, and we've done the implant. What else can we do? Just as a parent, you want to do everything and try everything that you can possible if it's going to give your child a better choice of life or chance at life.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine, just me being a father myself, I couldn't imagine dealing with that, and not in a negative way. I couldn't imagine carrying that weight.
Yeah, it was obviously a lot. And at one point there was some genetic testing because they wanted to do, but of course insurance didn't cover it. So my family raised the money to cover the cost of the genetic testing. And they came back and said, your daughter has mitochondrial disease. Okay, what's that? They said, you need to plan for her funeral. You need to plan for her funeral when you're a competent, able, sound body and mind, because when she does pass, you're not going to be able to figure out anything. So basically take her home and don't worry about the quantity, worry about the quality. So don't worry about how long she's going to live. Just worry about keeping her alive. And they said she won't walk, she won't talk, that she'll basically pass away around adolescence is what they told me.
Wow. And how old is she now?
Praise God. She's 23.
Wow. Oh, man. Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah.
So 9/11 will be 24 years. And so every year I know it's a somber and it's a sad day and it's a terrible day. And I just try to look at it every year that it's, it's another year that we have her with us.
Yeah. And did they just said sometime around adolescence. They didn't give you any time frame or.
I was like, what? Tell me, like, so, and they said around age 12 or so that, you know, pretty much her body will start shutting down and her organs will, you know, stop functioning is what they told us.
Mm. You know what? I do know a physician that can do some pretty awesome things. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says. You know, if he's going to hook it up, he's going to hook it up.
Amen. So we just pretty much play like Brandon Lake and Maverick City music. We play a lot of that throughout the day, and she sits there like Ray Charles, happy, and just soaking and absorbing, and that's what, you know, we feel like she loves it because she responds to it.
Yeah. So is she nonverbal?
Correct.
Okay. Wow. I just have so much. I can't even find the word right now. I have so much respect for you. I couldn't imagine having to live with that. This year might be the year. I mean, it could be for any of us, but you know, you being told early on, you might want to start planning your kid's funeral. The pain alone with having to bury your child. Mm-hmm. My goodness.
Right. But we believe in a bigger.
Yes. I was just going to say, like, how do you cope with that? Like, how do you find the strength to just keep going?
Just all day long, you know, it's pray without ceasing every moment. And just sometimes you have to just say, Jesus, 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 until you can't say anything else because you just need that strength that you have to draw from because it's not easy.
Wow. I'm definitely, you've blessed me already.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's just, I just couldn't imagine that. Like when it comes to my babies, you know what I mean? I'm a different man. You know what I mean? And I admire you and commend you for being able to even come on this platform and to talk about it.
Thank you.
I can't imagine it's always been an easy thing to talk about.
Well, I see a lot of parents who snap, for lack of a better word, and I get it. And I used to judge them.
Yeah.
I used to judge them, and I think if you have Christ, then you have peace, and that helps a lot. And maybe those folks don't have Jesus and don't have that support, but there needs to be talked about. There's a platform out there that needs to be shared about parents of special needs children, because also they're not always children. They are adults and they are home with us 24/7, and there's not a lot of resources out there. And for me, it's a trust issue. From time in law enforcement, I responded to a call. It was a fight in progress, upgraded to a person with an armed, and got out there, and someone came home from the job that he had, and his old lady was upstairs with someone. He forgot his lunch, came in the house to get his lunch. Old lady was upstairs with the security guard from the Social Security office. So the husband grabbed the gun and the badge and took off, and all that to say we responded, and there was an individual with special needs, profound, who was in the van. Mm-hmm. The husband's job was to transport profound individuals, and he had them shackled in the van with the windows up and no air.
Oh my goodness.
And as a special needs parent, I think God showed that to me to say that, Corey, don't ever trust anybody with your daughter. Just don't ever trust anybody with your daughter. And that's all I needed to see. And that's always in the back of my mind when people say, you need to place her in a home, or you need to place her in a daycare, you need to place her somewhere, you need to take care of you. But that's not why we believe that God gave her to us, is to put her on someone else. He gave her to us to make sure she's thriving.
Yes.
And living her best life.
Yeah. I can resonate with that. You know, I was saying, maybe you've heard it before, in God we trust, everyone else we verify. You know.
Amen. Makes sense.
So I'm very protective of my family and my children, my wife. Anyone I care about, really. I'm a protector by nature. I think that we are too, you know? Yeah, exactly. You know, sheepdogs. We, when we run towards the danger and when everyone's running away, somebody's got to do it, right? And I think it takes a great deal of courage to walk out of your house every day and not know if you're coming back. Mm-hmm. You know, let's talk about law enforcement. Like, you know, what, obviously you kind of grew up seeing the recruits running by. You know, I don't know what if she wanted to see some PYTs running by, you know, while she was smoking, said Marlboro
Reds.
Marlboro Reds, you know, 5:30 in the morning, you know.
She won't get up, take me to school, but she'll get up for the recruits.
Get her smokes in, get to see some eye candy, you know.
I'm just kidding.
But you, I mean, like, so what made you decide to pursue law enforcement?
It was actually City of Lithonia, a reserve officer. I know you're familiar with the terminology.
Yeah.
Some kids walking through the cut through, shot at my dog, and my husband called 911. I chased after him in a nightgown and no shoes and got him. There was a Henry's Funeral Home in Lithonia and over by the church. I got him. And by the time Lithonia came, he said, I'm a reserve officer. And I'm like, but I got him and I got the weapon. Like, he's like, I'm a reserve. And I'm okay.
What? What that mean? Like, you on duty, bro? Like, you better.
He said, I just do this to keep my certification. He's like, I'm not doing all that. That's too much. You're doing too much.
Come on. Yeah. Okay.
I was like, this is what we're working with.
Yeah.
This is what we have. And that moment I decided, and also cleaned houses. Sergeant Sonia, Michael, they were a police officer couple that worked out east, and I used to take care of their babies. And so I talked to him one day, and they were like, come on, we need you. We need good people. And I asked him, I said, why'd you do it? And he said, drive fast and beat people up.
Oh, you're so funny. Yeah, so, and then in 2013, you just kind of decided to.
Well, my daughter was still having seizures, and we had the service dog, and I've done all the things that the doctors asked. I flew to California to meet with a world-renowned neurologist. I took her to Dr. Chagani in Detroit Children's Medical. So I'm doing all these things and finding the specialist, and so I feel like I'm doing what I need to do to get her care, but she's still having seizures. So I see this Dr. Sanjay Gupta out of CNN is doing this CBD oil, which is just CBD for a little girl, Charlotte Fiji, who had seizures, and found this mom in California who helped her son, who also had seizures and autism, and her husband's a California Highway Patrol officer.
Okay.
And so I kept messaging her, trying to figure out how she was helping her son through plant-based medicine, and she thought I was pursuing her because my name is Corey.
Oh, yeah, okay.
She's like, I'm married. And I'm like, okay, me too. She's like, my husband's a police officer. I'm like, okay, I'm a police officer, but I just want to know how you're saving your son. And she's like, but I'm married to a cop. Okay, we've got that clear. How are you saving your son's life? And then she finally realized that I'm just a mom that has a daughter with seizures, and I just want to get my child okay.
Yeah.
And so she kind of explained to me that she gets the flour, because in California, she's able to go to a brick and mortar store and obtain flour. And she comes home and makes her son's medicine. And she said he began talking.
Wow.
Yeah.
And prior to that, he was nonverbal?
Nonverbal. And I was so jealous. So I went to Thaddeus Brown, Captain Brown, City of Clarkson, and said, can I try this CBD oil for my daughter? And I got like 2 thumbs down. Like, no, you can't, because it's medical marijuana. I'm like, well, it's CBD. And they were saying, well, it's medical marijuana. And I'm like, but it's CBD. It's not, we just didn't. And so I said, I'm going to have to resign because I want to pursue this for my daughter. And that's what I did.
So you gave up what you love for what you love more.
Amen. Family first.
Yeah.
Family
wow.
First. Yeah. So I miss it, love it. And so you find a way to fulfill that servant heart in other ways.
Yeah. There's always some way to serve, for me, I always try to adopt a you first mentality or stance. I feel like that's how Jesus was. He was always like, all right, you first type of thing. And I feel like things kind of work out better when you show grace and when you try to be selfless. I mean, us as humans, of course, naturally we can be selfish, because of our flesh desires something. the flesh and the spirit are usually bumping heads.
Right.
So I think having that you first mentality is powerful and it's hard, but I think it gets great results.
And your kids see it.
Yes.
Most importantly. And I think that's how I was raised, going back to Lithonia and seeing my family help people firsthand. So you just see it firsthand, and that you first mentality, your kids will see that and implement that as well.
Yep.
There was a young man in Clarkston, there's a group home, and when you turn 18, the group home kicks you out. You're 18. And his dad was in prison and his mom died. And so I brought him back to Canton, and he didn't like it because he said no one up there looked like him. But that you first mentality, because I was like, he's on the street, and he's one of many that I've brought in my home, young men that needed a place to go. And I just have that same, servant's heart that what would Jesus do? Jesus wouldn't turn him away. He wouldn't ban him. He wouldn't block him. He would open his home up and say, we have a bed. There's a roof. We don't have a lot, but whatever we have, you can have.
Yeah. That's one. That's brave.
I don't know if that's the word.
I mean, you got to have some type of faith going on there. I don't know. I don't know if I could personally do it. You know what I mean? The love that you have to have for people. Yeah. And the heart that you have to serve someone else.
And the faith.
Yes, and the faith.
The faith
to
has
bring
to
them
equal.
into your home with your family, even if you maybe not know them that well.
Right. And having a nonverbal child has been kind of a struggle for me because she can't talk, and God forbid something happened to her. So kids came home, my boys, and said, there's a guy at the gym who's living at the gym. Gym's open 24/7. His clothes are in the locker. His mom and his culture said, hey, you're 18, bounce. And he was living at the gym. And all they knew is his name was Raymond. Like, well, where's he from? Does he have a car? Does he have a job? Next thing you know, Raymond's moving in with us with his gym bag, and that's all he had. No car, no job. But we're not going to say no.
Yeah. Wow. I think it takes a very special kind of person to be able to do that.
I don't know.
No, I know, because I ain't the one. Let me stop. Like, I love people. Listen, bro, I put you in a hotel, Airbnb, bro. You ain't coming to my crib. My wife and kids, dog. Like,
right, and that's having faith that God's going to protect.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not knocking anyone that has that kind of faith. The Lord is still working on me. I'm just letting y'all know. Okay. That has that type of faith. I think it's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? And the world needs people like you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know.
Because I know if I was in that position where I was living at a gym, only had a gym bag and a locker, mom kicked me out. I mean, I would probably be hoping and praying for somebody to give me an opportunity like that. Mm-hmm. Just to sleep in the bed or on the floor or something. I mean, how do you sleep? Where do you sleep at?
Right.
Like in a locker room floor or like the locker room bed? How comfortable could that be?
Right, because he didn't have a car and he was showering at the gym.
Sit on the toilet and fall asleep in a stall? I mean,
Right. Yes, sir. And just having that faith with, as far as my son, my boy, he played baseball in California at 18. So I took him out to California, and that was really hard, leaving 18-year-old kid who's never been away from home, and just having faith that he's across the country, and just having faith that God's got him.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, no, I've not experienced that with my kids yet. They are not quite that old, but I mean, I had that experience as a young man, 17 years old, military. Never really been away from my family for maybe more than a weekend at a friend's house. Still or if they went away or something like that. But just now I'm in completely other side of the country and a bunch of strangers. Culture shock for sure.
Mm-hmm. But it builds character.
100%. I mean, you find out you find out what you're made of when you got to handle business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you leave the bird's nest or you leave your safety net, you know, you learn how to navigate life, navigate in different environments.
Right.
And like I said, at the time it was scary, but looking back, you know, now being in my mid-30s, I'm grateful for it. It helped shape and mold who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
All the experiences, you know?
Amen.
Yeah. So you got a message to share, right? You're here for a reason, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's share that message.
I'm basically an advocate for whole plant safe access medicine, meaning that my daughter, who suffers from seizures, I had to relocate to Colorado and get her oil because the Georgia legislators couldn't get a bill passed. And Senator Butch Miller, who was in Forsyth, I believe he's over, and he loaned me his wife's van.
Wow.
To go to Colorado. You know when someone says, "Let me know if you need anything."
Hey, dog. Hey, Senator. I need some wheels.
Please and thank you. And he owned Milt Martin Honda. So like, you have wheels.
Okay.
You've got nothing but wheels. And 100%. I need some. So it's a win-win. And so Senator Butch Miller loaned me his wife's van, and Representative Alan Peake paid rent for 6 months for us to relocate to Colorado.
Wow.
So we could get the oil. And that's where my daughter stopped having seizures and spoke for the first time.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
She spoke.
Mm-hmm. She said the word book.
Book. Man, that's amazing.
Amen.
Well, okay, so, all right. So let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
So they loan you a van. Someone pays for rent for 6 months for you. Mm-hmm. What was that drive like from Georgia to Colorado?
Man, with us, it's an adventure. I promise you that. It's an adventure. It's never a dull moment. First of all, the first night we keep my daughter's medicine in a lockbox because it's safe.
Yes.
Safety first.
100%.
We forgot the keys in Georgia.
No.
So my mom goes to the motel clerk and asks for a crowbar. What do two ladies need a crowbar for? We're breaking.
That's not suspicious at all.
Not at all. In the middle of the night, mind you, because we didn't get in till late.
Yeah. I need to borrow that crowbar real quick. Nothing in particular. Just
don't ask any questions.
Don't ask any questions.
Yeah, man. So we got the medicines we could do for meds, and we went to driving through Kansas. It took forever, of course. We stopped and got my daughter a Cabbage Patch doll that we named Hope, because we were trying to like keep hope alive and have hope and hope and lots of hope. And Victoria rolled down the window and threw Hope out. So we lost all hope.
Lost all hope. There goes hope.
There went hope.
Hope's out the window.
Hope is somewhere in Kansas.
Kansas.
And thank God for my police training, because speaking of Kansas, we're driving through and we didn't realize that Senator Butch Miller's van had XM radio. We didn't realize that till we got back to Georgia.
Huh.
Yeah, that was tragic.
Yeah.
Cross-country road trip with no radio.
Yeah.
And so we're on some AM station, and my mom saw the town of Victoria, and she's like, "Let's get out and take pictures by the sign. Let's do pictures." And I'm like, "I'm getting to Colorado. We're not doing this. Ain't that kind of trip." Well, on the AM station, they said a tornado just touched down in the town of Victoria. And me and my mom looked at each other, and she starts digging in her purse for her little magic bottle of medicine. It has a black X on it with a Sharpie. I have no idea what she's taking, but we know. She's over there, "Corey." I said, "Mom, call 911 and tell them that we're from out of town. We're on west, headed to Colorado, and where do we go? Call 911 and just tell them we don't know where we're from out of town. How do we avoid the tornado? Where do we go? What do we do?" She's like, gets on the phone with 911. She's just like, starts screaming and crying. Give me the phone, Mom. And I'm trying to keep the van, Senator Butch Miller's wife's van, on the road because the tornado is approaching and about to blow us off what I think is a bridge. You can't see the road. And my mom's screaming, there's water, we're going off the road. I don't know what she took. Yeah. I don't know what she took, but she goes, I really think we need to get a hoe. And her head went back.
Is she out?
She was out. So I called my cousin. I was like, man, you ain't gonna believe this. I gotta tell you. I said, my mom just took something, had an X on the top, and she was in the middle of their sentence and her head went back. My cousin goes, well, take a picture and send it to me. So I get my phone out to take a picture, and she sits up and she goes, are you looking for trouble?
Oh my goodness.
No, ma'am. No trouble here.
She could have literally slept through a tornado.
She was out. I think it was Xanax prescribed, of course.
Oh my goodness.
It was an adventure.
She was feeling good.
It was, yes, sir. It was an adventure for sure, getting to Colorado with Victoria and a service dog. And she likes to beat on the window nonstop. Mm-hmm. So it almost sounds like someone's been picked up against their will. I don't want to use any words to flag anything, but
yeah,
it often has people watching and looking, and a lady, with her hands on her hips trying to figure out how she can intervene because it sounds like someone's trying to escape. So driving 24 hours across country with someone beating on the back window with no radio, that was fun.
Yo, you lost me at driving 24 hours. Everybody know Reggie don't drive more than 8. If it's more than 8, we catching the flight.
But when it comes to your kids.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. I would do anything for my kids. Anything.
Drive to Colorado.
But I'm going to need some prayer. I'm going to need a lot of prayer before that trip and during. You know what I mean? I think it could be cool doing a road trip if you don't have maybe like a timeline on it type of thing. You're just kind of exploring, and then people are switching. You got different people switching, taking shifts and driving. Right. But when I go somewhere, I mean, my wife will drive every now and then, but I usually end up being the one that's driving most of the time. Mm-hmm.
It's that EVOC training.
Yeah, exactly. That EVOC training. But I don't know. That's cool. That's wow. 24 hours. Ooh.
Yeah, man. It was a lot.
Man. That's heavy. But you do what you got to do. I mean, like I said, you're doing this for your kid. That's totally commendable.
Yeah, and so we're out there getting the medicine for Victoria, and my son's teacher emailed and said, are you guys going through a divorce? Like, not to get personal, but she said, last year when I saw your son in the hallway, he was always happy-go-lucky, smiling, but something's going on at home. And I responded, I was like, no, I'm in Colorado. And I was like, oh, I'm in Colorado. Mm-hmm. I'm in Colorado. That's the problem. Mom's in Colorado, sister's in Colorado, grandma's in Colorado. We have the service dog in Colorado. So I figured I need to come back home. At the time, he was 9 and still needs Mom. And I missed the first day of school, and he played baseball, and I was missing his games, and I was always team mom. And so it's kind of like you have to decide, but at the same time, yeah, it's a balance.
So how is he today? How old is he now?
20.
Yo, that's crazy. How's it feel having a young man?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good question. We debate a lot at home because my husband and I, he feels like to raise a successful human, that they have to, what is the definition of being successful is that they've accepted Jesus in their heart and they know Jesus. And he's kind of like, if they don't do anything else, they know Jesus. Where I'm kind of like, well, Jesus ain't going to come down and cook dinner for them. Jesus ain't going to do their laundry. And I'm trying to say that if you teach them to fish.
Yeah, you feed them for a lifetime.
Exactly.
You give them a fish, you feed them for a day.
Right. And he's just saying, well, Corey, they don't have to be successful by definition of society. like have a nice car, big bank account, be independent. He's like, as long as they love Jesus, that's enough for me.
That's powerful. I mean, all those things are nice. Can't take none of it with you, though.
Right. And that's his point, that as long as they know Jesus and accept Jesus into their hearts, like they share without sharing. Like my son on his baseball glove, he has a Bible verse. He has a tattoo on his left arm because he's a lefty. So when he bats, you can see Jesus on the cross. So they have subtle ways of sharing without sharing in your face.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool. What's his personality like? Is he more like you or your husband?
Joseph?
Yeah.
He is his sister's keeper.
His sister's keeper.
Yeah, he'll tell me. She doesn't speak, but he'll say she wants something to drink. And I'm like, how do you know? She doesn't talk. But he'll tell me, get her something to drink and she's thirsty. They have this weird connection, and they've always had it since they were young. And it was never forced. It was super organic. And so I've told him that, I said, if something happens to me and your dad, you got to take care of your sister. And he said, who else is going to take care of her?
Yeah. I'm like that with my older sister. I feel like me and her have this very interesting connection.
Where you don't need words.
Don't need words. Don't even need to be in the same state. Mm-hmm. It's just like she just knows when to call or reach out, and so do I.
Mm-hmm. That's like, amazing.
Hey, you good? Well,
as you call,
yeah. So don't just call whenever I'm feeling down or whatever, or some crap just happened. But yeah, we have that. Just has that sense.
Mm-hmm. That sixth sense or connection. It's really cool to watch, and
yeah, it's really cool because we didn't even grow up together.
Oh wow!
For the most part, so yeah, it's crazy how that worked out.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah. So obviously he's good. He's good with Victoria.
Yes, he takes care of her and helps me. And then I have Jaden, who is my middle son, who is high functioning autistic.
Okay.
And so he helps with Victoria as well. I just think that he'll probably be living with us forever, just like Victoria.
Yeah, so we got to talk about that because that's a whole nother ball game. And I know like your heart has to be prepared a certain way to accept that, your children, or maybe two of your children, may never leave. For some mamas, that's a dream come true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to ever say that that's a nightmare for other mothers. But, I mean, I understand how it could be frustrating at times. Or, I don't know. I don't think anyone quite loves like a mother loves,
Right. And I think, too, it's a lot about perspective. As much as anybody wants to say it's not. But I just keep, like every day, thank God I have her. Thank God she's still here.
Yeah.
'Cause it could be the alternative.
100%.
And so just if she's on the floor, throwing a fit, kicking, biting, just pray for patience and thank God she's here kicking and fighting.
Yeah. That's, yeah. I just have so much respect for y'all.
Well, thank you.
Just everything that you've been through, and just to support her and to, just to support her. I think the easy decision, and I don't want to say easy, but I think in some cases, which I have seen, unfortunately, I've seen it a lot, where it's people have had severely special needs children, and they just put them in a home.
Right.
They're like, oh, well, they don't know anything, or this and that. They won't, they're more so looked at as a burden than anything.
And it's funny you say that. I remember when I was lobbying for safe access to medical cannabis for her, someone messaged me, like a stranger on Facebook. He said, why are you fighting for access to these kids who will never be a productive member of society?
Wow. what was your first thought when you read that? Like, was it like, okay, I'm about to get my 69 on this month? I mean, all right, bro, where you at?
Pull up.
Pull up. Pull up. Don't you know how it's from the cab be? Like, come on. I'm telling, man, listen. It's a whole different breed. You go through that DeKalb Academy, you already know you about it. I'm like, come on, you gotta understand this. Like, Georgia has its basic minimum requirements, which you have to go through, and then DeKalb County has their own additional academy that you have to go through
6 months
to even become a officer on the streets. Mm-hmm. So you're not talking about just getting the minimum. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I felt like the academy was harder than my Army boot camp. Because when I went in, I had already been in the Army.
Right, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I had already been in the Army, and I'm going to this academy like, man, sweat. I remember like just looking at some of my classmates like, oh, carrying that tire around, you know.
It's good training.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, you learn how to police for sure. 100%.
Oh, yeah. That's what's, I think sets me apart from other people. And then having that calmness in chaos.
Yeah.
Working South Morning Watch.
Yep. Because it's that's a whole other beast. I tell my wife we went to a graduation party in DeKalb County a couple of days ago, and we pulled off Memorial Drive, and she had never seen the jail before, aka Hell on Earth.
DeKalb Inn.
Yeah. You know, and she was like, what kind of windows are those? I was like,
secured.
I mean, you know, I'm like, listen, they call it Hell on Earth for a reason. I was like, listen, I was the officer, and I felt like the hairs on the back of my neck stood up every time I went through the Sally Port. I was like, I felt like I was about to get locked up.
Right.
You know, but you know, that was many years ago, so things could have changed. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think I want to thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Because it is all about perspective. Everything is about perspective. You can look at the glass half empty or half full.
Right.
You know, and I admire your perspective of, you know what, she's still here with me, whether she's kicking, screaming, fighting, doing whatever she does. I still got another day with her.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
You know, and speaking of perspective, I think that's something that we can all learn from, is to, often we think about what we don't have. And people will complain about, well, I wish I had this. I wish I had this. I'd be happier if I had this. But for me, it's like, man, like, I'm just grateful that I can see, I can speak, I can feel. Both of my legs work. You know, it's the little things like that we just take for granted. We become complacent. We take that for granted. Mm-hmm. There's somebody who can't see out there that has to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
You know,
you say it like that. Yeah.
There's some people out here who can't hear. They have to watch the podcast with the subtitles. Mm-hmm. I may look into, getting the podcast in Braille. I don't know how it works. You can't, you can't see or hear. Right?
Right. You got to get the message out somehow.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of it sometimes. Like, hey, not that I'm like a big complainer, because I really don't think that I complain a lot, but it doesn't do me any good. It does me zero. It doesn't me no good to complain.
There's nothing positive that comes from it.
No. You got two choices in life. Make moves or make excuses. That's it.
That's it.
You can complain about it, or you can just do something to change it. A lot of the times, we can be the solution to our problems.
Right. If you have that good, solid foundation.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely have inspired me today just by just sharing a little bit of your story, right? And just the level of grace and patience and that you have to have dealing with, severely special needs daughter and a son. Although he's highly functioning, but he still, I'm sure it still takes a certain type of energy.
Yes. There's challenges because he is 22. And so he can legally drink or partake. He went to a smoke shop and bought what he thought were legal gummies. And he's, bless his heart, ignorant and just ignorant. Just plain ignorant, and doesn't read the labels and doesn't pay attention. And it says like THC or PCP or TCP, I think TCP. And he had some sort of like psychotic episode, but he's using his money. And he's of age. So I have to, as a parent and as a former law enforcement, educate and guide him. I reached out to a friend. I sent a picture. I'm like, what is this that my son's taking? He's like, Corey, that's like PCP. That's the equivalent of PCP.
Oh, snap.
So this is why your son is having a psychotic episode.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So I'm like, you got to sit him down, and I understand you're of age and you have an ID and you have your own money, but these are things we don't want to buy.
Yeah.
These are things that are not safe.
Yeah.
This is what we're trying to avoid. And why would you spend $60 on a pack of something that's going to make you cry for 6 hours?
That's a good point.
Let's do better.
Yeah. Experience is the wisest counselor. Other than God, I believe.
Right. Yeah. So there's challenges with having a autistic 22-year-old who's not as severe, where she's home and depending on us, where he has a little bit more freedom and flexible, but still just,
Wow. There's a special place in heaven for people like you, my friend.
Thank you.
And I think God knew that you were built for it. That's why he blessed you with them. Mm-hmm. Right? I believe that 100%.
Well, thank you. And however we can use them to help, like if there's a church that needs a special needs ministry, we can utilize and say, hey, so that people like us, because a lot of families don't even go to church because there's no place for their special needs child or adult.
That's a very interesting thought. And in my ignorance, I don't really think about it that much because I don't have to think about it, which there's no excuse.
Well, I had a church invite us. I went to go get my mail lady. She was working and they had a clothing drive. So I went to get clothes for my mail lady because she couldn't get off work. So I was there for her, but the people kind of honed in and invited me to their church. And I just wanted to explain I was here for the mail lady, but they all convened and like, hey, we want you to be a member. And I'm like, well, before you, we're not like, we're not like them. They're not like us. We need a special needs room. Like, we're not normal. And I said, also, would it be a problem? Because I am an advocate for whole plant medicine. So I don't want us to be a member of your church and then you see me on the news lobbying for medical marijuana.
Yeah.
And he said, let me talk to the elders of the church and get back to you. I haven't heard from them.
Oh, I guess I could see how that could be a bit of a speed bump there.
I try to be transparent and use a conduit to say, God created humans and God created humans with cannabinoid receptors, and it's a Schedule I substance. And the United States have a patent on marijuana, but they say it has no medical properties, but yet there's studies from Israel that show that it does have medical properties. And so I try to use that to educate folks from the church or like our local sheriffs or our Chief Ken Ball. He was a former chief of Holly Springs. He was part of our documentary, so it was really surprising to hear him speak. And he said he believes in cannabis for medical purposes, but I think the Chief of Police Association gave him a slap on the wrist and said, we don't want law enforcement speaking on this topic.
Wow.
And so anyway, I try to use this to educate people and say, that we come with a lot. We come with a special needs family and educate. When Victoria first started accessing cannabis oil, when we first, met the governor and got cards, but her teacher at school said, does she need a bong for the corner of the classroom for her medical marijuana?
Oh.
And it's oil.
Yeah.
It's a drop of oil. It's not a bong, but the misinformation and media would show when they would talk about the kids with seizures at the Capitol, but on the news they would show people smoking cannabis. So that didn't compute that we were lobbying for kids with seizures who needed cannabis oil because the news was showing people getting high. And her teacher saw and was like, well, does she need a corner for the classroom, a special section for her bong for the marijuana? And I'm like, so just educating people.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Well, I'm sure that's a journey of its own right there.
A little bit.
Well, if people wanted to learn more information about, your mission and your journey, where can we point them to?
I have a Facebook page for Victoria. It's Pause for a Princess on Facebook, and people can follow her story and see how the medicine's helping her and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your story. It looks like we're coming up on time, but I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate the lengths that you've going through and continue to go through for the people that you love. It really shows a lot about your character.
Thank you.
And I hope that she starts to say other words too.
That's what my husband prays every day, that she speaks, and then he goes to work. Like, so you pray that she starts speaking and you leave me here so she can talk my head off. But it'll be a blessing. So I'm waiting for it.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Pretty much. But before we let you go, I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
What might people be surprised to know about you?
Other than the advocacy?
Yeah.
Really?
Why not?
Well, Carter Buford, he's the drummer of Dave Matthews Band.
Okay.
Best drummer in the world. He said I give the best hugs in the world.
Really? You do give a pretty awesome hug.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I felt the warmth and the love.
Yeah.
When you first came to the studio, I was like, oh, that's a great hug. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. And I've hugged Killer Mike.
Just touched my spirit.
Yes. So finding like the good people and connecting and passing on that connection, and big gift from Gip Goodies and Too Short that I've met, just finding the good people and the good energy and honing in on it and spreading the love.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, Corey. I appreciate it. Yes. Before we let you go, I have something for you. So what I have is a custom Call to Serve podcast challenge coin. Ooh. For you on the back. It has our slogan.
That is awesome.
Serving those who serve others.
Amen.
Right, that's what we created this podcast for.
Thank you.
So my hope is that every time you see that it'd be a reminder of why you choose to serve. Serve those people who can't serve themselves, or even people who can't necessarily serve others in traditional ways. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very admirable how you're serving your family, and that you're fighting for something that you really believe in.
Yes, sir.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I think one thing I tell people who I mentor, and I've mentored, over many years, is when it comes to a cause, or when it comes to doing something or building something or accomplishing something, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And
go where you're called.
Yeah. And you were called. You were called to serve the way that you're serving. You're called to serve your family, and that's very admirable.
Thank you.
And I think it's very awesome. I also
There's more.
have a sticker.
Thank you. Awesome. You want your bag?
Oh yeah,
I brought you something too.
Brought me something.
Yeah, I switched it up last minute because normally it would be based on plant-based things, but I switched it up last minute.
Gotcha. Y'all definitely check this out pretty soon here. Thank you so much for that. You didn't have to do that.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much in this platform.
100%. We'll definitely stay in touch for sure, because I'd love to follow your journey. I would love to, follow Victoria's journey and see the progression that are going to be made. You know what I mean? Just speaking that in Jesus' name, that there's going to be some type of breakthrough. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, we might have to have you come back on a future episode and give us some updates and just let us know what you're up to.
Right. A praise update.
Yeah. 100%. Give us a praise report.
There you go.
Well, it's been an honor having you, Corey. You're a phenomenal guest. You have a phenomenal and powerful story, and just keep going out there and sharing and spreading your light. And until next time.
Thank you.